I am going to ask you to close your eyes. Everyone, from now. Yes, sir, you too, in the back. Yes. Okay, I want you to imagine we are at a cemetery. It's the 1st of November, and the cemetery is lit up by 6,000 candles. One candle for each tombstone, for each beloved one, for each story. And you see quite some people at the cemetery, people of all ages, young people, elder people, and they have one thing in common. They have all one person in their minds. They all have one person in their hearts. And they all look in the same direction. Because, you know, if you look a bit closer, without actually watching, young lady, you see a stage. And there's a singer-songwriter on that stage. He's singing a song that he wrote for a friend of his that passed away a couple of years ago due to cancer. And then you see a poet reading a poem about what we can learn from death throughout our lives. And then you see dancers performing a beautiful choreography of two beloved ones saying their goodbyes. And storytellers telling stories of the people that rest underneath the tombstones. The people that have formed, that have built the cities, the communities, the towns that we live in. You can open your eyes now. Let's see how we can bring that dream to life. My name is Pieter Deknudt. I come all the way from Belgium. It's a tiny little country right in the center of Europe. It's tiny, but it's a beautiful country because there is a wonderful movement going on. We call it the Mourning Revolution. And I'll tell you a bit about it later on, but first of all, I need to tell you the story of Robbie. Robbie and I, when we were teenagers, we lived in the same town called Dierleek in Belgium. And we were each in another band when we were like 19, 20 years old. And I was in a band, I had just started that band called Zinger. And we played like brass pop kind of music. And Robbie was way cooler than me, I have to admit that. He was in this rock and roll band called Highway Jack. And they were pretty good at the time. He was the bass player. And to Robbie himself, in Robbie land, in Robbie world, in his mind, he was the best rock and roll bass player in the best rock and roll band of the entire galaxy. Okay? There was this moment where they were in a band competition, local band competition, and he called the jury, he called them out for not having selected his band in the semifinals. So that was Robbie, torn jeans, leather jacket, always with like his foot on the monitor, rocking that bass. And then when we were like watching bands play in our local pub, he would always be the guy that was shouting from the crowd, "More guitars! I need more guitars! Come on, put them louder!" You know, that kind of stuff. And then it was his birthday. And there was this crazy party. And when they drove home at 6 a.m., the car he was in, they missed a bend and they crashed into a house. And suddenly Robbie was gone. And after the funeral, I quit making music myself. Nothing would come out anymore. It was only 2 years later that suddenly I just grabbed my guitar because it was calling for me in some way. And suddenly this Robbie song popped up out of my guitar, out of the blue. And the 1st of November was coming clearer, coming nearer, coming closer. And I noticed something really strange. I noticed that nothing was happening. No one was kind of making any plans to get together around Robbie to commemorate him. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized how colorless our mourning culture had become at that time. How little creativity, how little energy, how little love we put in commemorating our beloved ones. And it even got so bad that on the 1st of November that year, there was this yearly radio interview with one of the representatives of the chrysanthemum industry. You know, the 1st of November is the Day of All Saints, and in Belgium we have that tradition that we go to the cemetery to commemorate our beloved ones. And in Belgium we put chrysanthemums on the graves, we lay them down over there. And so there was this radio interview on the national radio, and they asked, "Hey, hello, Mr. Chrysanthemum Man, what are the latest trends?" And he said, "Wow, we had a 9% increase in sales for our flowers, so we had a really good year." And I thought, come on, what are we doing? What on earth are we doing? It's the 1st of November, the day where we, commemorate people, where we think about the people that we miss. You're talking about, can I swear here? We're talking about fucking chrysanthemums. What is this? So that was the moment where I swore to myself I was gonna get that guy's space in the radio news. And I swore that I was going to make it something more beautiful, something warmer, something more human. So the year after, on the 1st of November, I was standing there at the cemetery because I had decided that I wanted to play the Robbie song. I called it Grace. I wanted to play it for Robbie at the cemetery, nearby his grave. So I was really terrified. I was scared to death because I was really scared of, people's reactions. I didn't know how they were going to react. And I was scared of, hurting people's feelings. But then I grabbed my guitar, and we had invited the local brass band and local storytellers, local poets, to make it something beautiful. And I grabbed my guitar and I strummed my first G major chord. Any guitarists in here? Okay. I could say whatever I want. And it went like this. Lonesome driver, where have you been? You're dreaming your heart out. Ain't it a sin? Fear and changes, but grace got her way. Have you heard everybody is dying these days? Grace stumbles and faith crumbles, you see, and everything reminds me of you. I could not feel there, I was reeling, and everything reminds me of you. Who do you think you're fooling now? And everything reminds me of you. Keep me awake, dreaming out loud, a sucker punch love, lost in a crowd. And people actually did react, but in such a breathtakingly beautiful, warm way that we decided to spread the idea. There was this person called Milo, and he was in his 60s, and he said, you know, Peter, this is the first time I come back to the cemetery since my son passed away 10 years ago. I just didn't feel well here. It just didn't feel good here. And, you know, I thought this could be something, and it actually brought me back to here. And this felt really beautiful and warm. And this is how I want to do it from now on. And then he said, can I join your team? I was like, wait a minute. I don't have a team. I was thinking about making teams. Now, it was only later that I realized that, you know, death is a team sport, or at least grief is a team sport. The mourning is a team sport. So in the years that came later, 1 in 2 cities and towns in Belgium started organizing consolation concerts, reveille concerts. More than 150. You have to know it's tiny little Belgium, you know, half of the Belgian cities do it. We have a national TV show, live stream from a cemetery. We've got a magazine that's sold out. And we think that we're ready to cross the border. So here's what I did. I did some research, and I checked whether this is something, you know, in the US, if that happens. So I asked ChatGPT. That's what we do then, okay? So I asked, can you give me some examples of music concerts at cemeteries in the US? Here's what ChatGPT said. While it is not common, there have been some instances of music concerts taking place at cemeteries in the US. These events, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, however, such concerts are typically infrequent and often receive mixed reactions. Due to the sensitivity of the location, examples may exist, but they are not widespread practice. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think I'm doing here? Why am I here? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to know who's in my team. That's great. So, Tracy promised me that right now there would be, wow, good, Tracy, thank you. There would be a QR code. I want you to scan that QR code. What is in it? My contact data, my email address. I want everyone who can help me in some way, in any way, with that dream, to call me, to, you know, send me an email. I heard that there's a break after this talk. I will see you right outside that door, okay? I want to see everyone in here who can help me out with this, okay? And just to close off, to finish this beautiful moment that I'm sharing with you here in this beautiful place in LA, I want to take a selfie with all my new team members, okay? Can we get some lights in here? Let's do this. Okay, we'll start from there. And I want you to raise your hand if you're still in my team, okay? So who's in my team? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.